It's Clodsire time. This is going to be the first episode in a series explaining how to use Clodsire to its fullest, especially with my set, but there are going to be some other sets that we definitely will be going over. This first episode is going to be pretty small, nothing too crazy. I want to talk about uh, basic sets for Clodsire, the ones that I like the most personally, and then we can go into also some of your expectations and some of the flaws of Clodsire and the strengths of Clodsire. It's at a base level. Uh, Sorry if I sound a little weird. I had my wisdom teeth removed a little bit ago, so not like today, like a couple days ago. So I might sound a little bit weird, but it'll get better. So Clodsire is a mon that is extremely unassuming at first glance. Like you look at these stats, and there are four that are under 80, and then you have two really good ones, and it's not exactly obvious why this guy would be good at first glance. Like these stats are really bad. Especially, it doesn't get too many great supporting options. It has Yawn, it does have Helping Hand, and we will be going over that. But for the most part, looks much more like it's geared towards singles, which I mean, you can see like OU, Clodsire is a strong mon there. Uh, it's a great wall, pivot option, all of that. Uh, and also will just stop a lot of Pokemon in their tracks. However, um, I I found that there's a lot more to Clodsire than meets the eye. And I mean, I originally thought that Clodsire was really bad in VGC, but I wanted to use it because I like Clodsire a lot. It's my favorite Pokemon. I'm like, this guy is so cute. His face is so funny. I want to use him. I don't care how bad he is. I want to use him. And then I used Clodsire more and more, and then I kind of realized that, oh, this guy's actually really good. Like, really good. And people just kind of didn't see the light because I mean honestly, like this is the kind of mon that you just brush over, and then but you know it's good. It's especially good as a late meta mon. Uh, it's looking pretty good for this guy. So I'll go over what I think is the best Clodsire set, and then we will talk about some variations. So in my opinion, this is going to be your best Clodsire set for most teams, although there is definitely a lot of room to change things up. Uh, so you're going to want to give it leftovers. You could give it black sludge if you're not intending to tear as often, but you do tear a decent bit with Clodsire. And we will at some point we're going to be talking about that. But um, leftovers, black sludge, you can give it a citrus berry if you like, but in my opinion, leftovers is going to be your best item. Uh, Clodsire loves the constant healing, being able to heal with protect, and then basically it's like a free 12% every other turn, or it's a free 6% after every single turn is really, really good for Clodsire to have because this mon thrives off of just kind of barely sneaking out of ranges and then healing back up. To where, like, maybe you're 30% and the Flutter Mane is, or maybe you're like 20 and the Choice Specs Flutter Mane that locked in a Shadow Ball in front of your 1.5 times Spadef Clodsire is launching Shadow Balls, and maybe you're not confident that you'll take one, uh, but with protect and recover, you'll likely be able to take that second shadow ball and recover all the way back up, and then just win the game from there. Or I mean, there are like a billion situations where this kind of thing can happen, but leftovers is really, really good because it keeps Clodsire at a range where it feels like you always have a shot to try and get back up to a decent health and then spread toxic and stuff. Uh, for abilities, Water Absorb is always going to be your best option. For the sole reason that Urshifu is in the game. It's broken. You really, really want it. Water Absorb, just completely shutting it down is extremely important for this Pokemon's viability because, I mean, I'm also Poison type. So I just get to wall most Urshifu forms. There are going to be some weird ones. There are going to be some like Scarf or Band Ice Spinner sets. But then, you know, it's not the end of the world at that point either because with Stockpiles up, their their non-stab Ice Spinner is not going to be dealing too much damage. So you should still be okay if you get Stockpiles up. And speaking of Stockpile, this is probably the most uh, standout move of the set, Stockpile. I actually started with Stomping Tantrum at first, and I mean, Stomping Tantrum was definitely not bad because it does make some matchups better. Like, I'm not going to go ahead and lie and say that Stockpile will always be better because it's not. Um, I use Stockpile because the way that I like to use Clodsire is in a very like late game cleanup kind of way. Like in an end game with an Iron Hands and a Fluttermane, Clodsire should be able to pull it out and win. Ideally, I mean, of course, it could be set dependent, but generally, Clodsire wins those, which is pretty good. But without Stockpile, it can be a bit of an issue. So yeah, but you can run Stomach Tantrum if you're looking for a better matchup into mons like Goldango and Heatran, then you can definitely run it. So either or is good, and then Gunk Shot is not a great idea because you already lose to steals and poisons, and Gunk Shot doesn't help you with that at all. So if you want to run Gunk Shot, there are other Clodsire sets that can run Gunk Shot to great effect, but this is not going to be one of them. Uh, this Stockpile, Toxic Recover Protect stuff is not. You're not really looking for Gunk Shot on this set. It just doesn't do anything for you. Um, so as you can see, this is a very it's a very polarizing mon because there's some mons where Clodsire will just not care and will just win. Like against most Fluttermane sets, against most Iron Hand sets, against most Urshifu sets, Urshifu Rapid sets, I should say, against like Torkoal and just for the most part, just special attackers. Clodsire can just kind of deal with them and wear them down with Toxic Stall, Toxic, Stockpile, Protect, Recover, all that. You have a ton of options for dealing with these special attackers. And you can see with this, I mean, look at these stats, like 237 HP with 167 SPDF is monstrous. Like, this guy does not care. I was playing today, and I had I had built up 3 stockpiles against a Torkoal, and I had Terrid Fire in the sun, and they launched a full health eruption, and it did 10%. And I was like, all right, I like this guy. I say that every day, all the time, but it was, I mean, Clodsire does that kind of thing pretty often. Like, it'll take a special attack much better than you think it will. Like, stuff like Iron Bundle Freeze Dry is like, it depends on the Iron Bundle, but for the most part, it's going to be around like 30-ish%. That's really good. Like, that is a super effective hit from Iron Bundle. It's not taking that, and Clodsire is just not taking that much damage. Uh, it's it's just that strong uh, defensively. And Iron Bundle is another mon where it just will absolutely bullet over. You don't even need to Terrifier, although it is generally going to be recommended. And that a Terrifier will guarantee it because you can lose to like freeze or something along those lines. For your EVs, I just run max HP, max BDF for defense. This Clodsire set is meant to do the big ol' kill every or the big ol' take all the special attacks and just eat them up, and then dish out toxic to the special attackers and eventually beat them down. So this EV spread is probably going to be what you're wanting to go for. If you're looking for a more stall-oriented Clodsire, something that just will slow games down and clean up all on its own against like a Fluttermane Chi-Yu core that's been weakened, or against Fluttermane Iron Hands, or against like Urshifu, or whatever. I mean, like, you have a lot of options, but this is generally going to be your best set to take on as many special attackers as you can. For your Tarotype, I run Fire because I like being able to get out of that Ice weakness uh, and that Psychic weakness. Although there are going to be other options, uh, like for this kind of set, I could see running like I could see like Terra Dark is a little shaky, but you could definitely run it to just absolutely. Uh, no, don't run Terra Dark. But you could run Terra Grass if you're really not worried about Iron Bundle. If your team feels confident against it, then you could definitely run Terra Grass and have ways to deal with Amoonguss that way, or just sleep in general, uh, while keeping. Well, I mean, you're always gonna have a certain strike resistance with Water Absorb. You could do Terra Flying to get rid of like Earthquake if you want to pair it with like an Earthquake user. You could probably pair Clodsire with Ursulune on a Trick Room team, run Terraflying Clodsire, and then have Earthquake. Uh, there are a lot of options for Tarotypes. I run Fire because it's the one I'm the most comfortable with and fits the teams that I make, but there is a ton of innovation for your Clodsire sets in terms of your Tarotypes. So always keep that in mind. You can change things up. Like you don't have to be stuck in one way. I mean, all of these options can be all right. Like there's so many good ones. Um, like for example, uh, I'm playing to. I mean, I'm gonna play Clodsire no matter if it's good or bad. But in when restricted formats come back, I'm probably gonna be switching over to Terra Fairy, just so that it can wall Miraidon sets. Miraidon and Koraidon sets, I'll just be able to beat down. I have Rain Calcs, and with Terra Fairy, it should be totally fine against both of those guys. Especially Miraidon, that mon's gonna be so insane, and having Terra Fairy to deal with it, I'm pretty excited for. So that'll be fun. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with this guy. Um, Now, of course, the Clodsire that a lot of you guys are going to be familiar with is I don't even know how to pronounce the player's name. Ploppy, I'll say. Ploppy's Clodsire with the I don't have their spreads memorized because I that's not something that I use very often at all. But it was the I think Stomping Tantrum, Gunk Shot, Yawn, Helping Hand with a Citrus Berry and Terra Water, and then an EV spread much more tailored for specific hits. And it functioned in a different sense. It's more of a supporting option uh, with their team, helping its teammates launch like some really strong attacks with the helping hand or putting stuff to sleep with Yawn, and decided to forego toxic and recover because their goal was to get healing with Citrus Berry and Water Absorb on predicted Surging Strikes from Urshifu. And it did that job very well. It was able to beat down a lot of Fluttermane, and it was able to beat down a lot of probably Iron Hands, although I wouldn't really know. Uh, but I mean, it would make sense that it would beat those guys. And Urshifu, and it has a pretty good matchup into a lot of those cores. Uh, so you can do that if you want to give it some attack investment. You could look at like making sure it 2 KOs Fluttermane, making sure it's dealing enough damage to like Urshifu to where you can actually pressure it without falling to too many close combats. But Clodsire definitely has that option too to be more support based and offensive. Um, I'm not gonna sit here and say that my set is the end all be all. Like there are a lot of sets that you can run with this guy. Uh, it is a lot of solid moves for this last slot. In my opinion, that you could be running. If you want to run like Clear Smog for some reason, you could. I don't know exactly why you would want to do that, but you could probably do it. After you is pretty bad, but then yeah, you have like Helping Hand. Um, you have uh, other things that will probably come to mind at some point. Honestly, you could run Rock Tomb if you wanted for like speed control if you want, or Bulldoze if you wanted to like do that. Acid Spray gives it more support in terms of like once again helping your team do more damage. But I mean, the Clodsire has a lot of stuff it can do. Um, yeah. So I mean, we know its strengths, right? Big ol' special wall deals with their Shifu, deals with Fluttermane. All those like the two most used mons in the format. This guy will just beat down like every time. That is extremely useful. Of course, there is going to be, obviously there's gonna be weaknesses. Um, I'll say this on ladder, Clodsire is a lot worse than in like open team sheets environments in a set. Uh, Clodsire likes knowing what it walls and what it doesn't wall. Um, for example, be it's not hard to be surprised by like random ice spinner on Urshifu, or I've seen like I mean in earlier series you would see like 5% of Fluttermanes just carry this Psyshock. They would absolutely decimate Clodsire, and then I'd just be like, okay, well, uh, like I can't be playing around that all the time, so I just have to take that risk, and I didn't get it. Uh, so it's a close team's always going to be a bit of a struggle, although you can definitely still use it on ladder. And generally, I would advise if you're using Clodsire on ladder, you're going to be wanting to run very, or sorry, you're going to want to be using it for practice and learning interactions, like learning your calcs and learning like what move orders you need to be using. Because like Clodsire can be very specific because there are times when you need to like click protect here, then recover, then maybe stockpile, protect, recover, toxic, protect, recover, stockpile. Like, they're going to be very specific move orders that you need to learn, and a lot of those will just come in matches, and learning how to actually use Clodsire. Its weaknesses are, I mean, physical attackers are always going to be a pain. Like there are some that Clodsire is able to beat down, uh, like or Shifu Rapid, but for the most part, physical attackers are going to absolutely decimate it without stockpiles up. Its biggest threats are definitely Ursaluna. That guy's crazy. Ursaluna Chien-Pao are both just absolute pains for Clodsire to deal with. With enough stockpiles up, Clodsire can take on Chien-Pao, sort of, if you're able to Terra Fire, but Ursaluna, it's just dealing out way too much damage. Clodsire cannot take it on. Heatran for this set, if you're running Stomping Tantrum, then Heatran's totally fine. If you're running a Stockpile set, then Heatran and other steals are going to be a big problem. Like Gholdengo, and like really Gholdengo and Heatran are going to be a big problem because you can't Toxic Heatran with this Stockpile set. But then if you decide to run Stomping Tantrum, then you're able to beat Heatran, and then you struggle more into matchups like, for example, Chiyu Fluttermane, you can be especially overwhelmed. And that will happen particularly if you don't have Stockpile. But yeah, that's a pretty basic overview of Clodsire, and I'm going to be talking next time about matchups, about like specific matchups, going in depth into like what to do against Fluttermane, what to do against like this core, or whatever. But yeah, I that's pretty much all I gotta say. If you enjoyed and want to keep learning how to use Clodsire and VGC, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And if you want to learn a specific thing about Clodsire, leave it in the comments, and I'll get to that, and I'll make sure to bring it up in one of these videos. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.